Welcome to Rewired for Love. I am your host, JaCarie Owens, licensed mental health counselor, EMDR basic training coach and consultant, group practice owner and supervisor at Courageous Minds Counseling, relational trauma expert, and the most important one, your honest but loving homegirl therapist who's not afraid to talk about the messy parts of healing. Around here, we talk about all things nobody taught us growing up, how our attachment styles show up in love, why our nervous system acts like a fool sometimes, and what it really takes to feel safe in our bodies. So this is not about perfection. It's about learning to love yourself in real time with grace, boundaries, and a little bit of humor. So take a deep breath. Get comfy, because we don't chase chaos, we choose calm. And this is Rewired for Love. In our last few episodes, we talked about attachment, how anxious, avoidant, and disorganized patterns didn't come out of nowhere. They came from experience, from what your nervous system learned early about love, about safety, and about consistency. So now the question becomes, okay, I understand my attachment. I understand my triggers. I understand my trauma. But now what? And this is where reparenting comes in. And let me say this up front. Reparenting is not about blaming your parents. It's not about rewriting history. And it's definitely not about babying yourself. Reparenting is about taking responsibility for your inner system instead of letting old wounds run your adult life. And today's episode is called Reparenting Yourself, Learning to Be the Parent You Needed. But I'm going to be honest with you from the jump. If you keep saying you're healing, but you're still letting chaos make your decisions, you are not reparenting. You're just coping with better language. So today, we're going to slow it down, break it up, be open, and we're going to get real. Because reparenting, that's that big grown-up type work. That's that real I am healing-ish type of work. So let's be clear. What is reparenting actually? What is it? So I want to clear up some confusion. I want to talk about what reparenting is not. Reparenting is not positive affirmations with no behavioral change. Reparenting is not romanticizing your inner child. It's also not letting your emotions run the show. Or it's not blaming your childhood for every time something goes wrong. The reality is reparenting, especially from an internal family systems lens, is about moving your adult self into leadership. So your inner child no longer has to survive adulthood alone. And your protector parts can finally rest. In IFS, we believe you have parts, not personalities, not diagnoses, parts. You have a childlike part that holds all the pain, the fear, and the unmet needs. You have a protector part that learned to manage, to control, to numb, or to avoid. And you have a self, and that's your calm, grounded, capable adult energy within you. So when we're talking about reparenting is when your self steps up and says, I got this. You don't have to do everything anymore. Because here's the hard truth. Your inner child is exhausted. Your protective parts, they're overworked. And your adult self has been checked out. And this is why relationships feel hard. This is why peace feels unfamiliar. This is why love feels like work instead of rest. So reparenting means becoming the regulator, the protector, the guide, and the nurturer of your own inner world. Not perfectly, but consistently. And as we're really leaning into reparenting, I want to talk about why Black women struggle with reparenting. So let's talk culture, because we really can't skip this part. For many Black women, we were raised to survive and not to feel, and definitely not to feel safe. We were taught to be strong, don't talk back, you go ahead and handle it. We also learned to pray about it, to stop crying, and don't embarrass the family by any means necessary. So, what happened when we received those messages? Our manager part stepped in early, and it made us the responsible one, the overachiever, the caretaker, the strong friend, because we know a lot of us are that. We also are the I got it woman. Those parts kept us alive. But now they're running our relationships, they're running our boundaries and our nervous system. And here's the hard truth that y'all don't want to hear. Your inner child keeps running your show because your adult self keeps letting survival be the leader. Chaos feels familiar, but peace, that feels suspicious. And softness definitely feels unsafe. So reparenting doesn't feel natural for us. And it makes us feel rebellious. Because now you're saying, what? I don't have to suffer to be worthy? Oh, what? I don't have to overextend to be loved? What you talking about? I don't have to abandon myself to stay connected? And that's real hardcore work as Black women. So what does that look like? What does that look like to reparent with all of survival in your world running the show? So I want to break this down. Let's get a little practical here. Reparenting has 4 core functions, and every healthy parent provides these. Number 1, nurture, comforting your inner child. By definition, nurture is the emotional responsiveness of your caregiver. When we're talking about nurture, it's saying things like, oh, it makes sense you feel this way. And not like, why am I like this? I should be over this by now. Ugh, I'm too grown for this. You see that critical voice? That's not truth. That's a protector part that learned shame equals safety. Because if I can give it to myself before anyone else, that keeps me safe. I don't have to feel a certain way. I'm already giving it to myself. Have y'all heard that saying that you don't have to beat me down because I already beat myself down bad enough? That's a protector part. That's a part saying, let me give it to myself so I know what to expect. That familiar pain, so that it keeps me from feeling the heartbreak when others give it to me. So when we're talking about reparenting that from a nurturing standpoint, reparenting means responding to distress with curiosity, not correction. So for you, if your inner child is crying, you don't have to tell them to shut up. I just need you to sit with her. And that's nurture within itself. Your presence within nurturing. The second pillar is structure. And that's giving your nervous system consistency. So by definition, structure is not control. It's safety. And I know that many of us grew up with unpredictability. So now your nervous system relaxes in chaos and panics in routine. Let me say that again, because I know that felt real weird to y'all, saying that out loud. But your nervous system rests in chaos or feels peace in chaos and panics in routine. So when we're talking about reparenting in structure, that means that we are creating regular meals. We are getting into a real good sleep rhythm. We are giving ourselves predictable self-care. And we're setting boundaries with work and with people. Because when we're talking about structure, that tells your inner child, don't worry about it. You can relax. I'm consistent. And here's the hard truth when we talk about structure. If your life has no rhythm, your anxiety will create one. And I want to just say this out loud. Structure will be hard. It will be uncomfortable. Why? Because you wasn't given the routine to begin with. When you haven't been given structure, You don't know how to create it. We don't know. We don't know. And so it's going to be about the small intentional things that you set aside for yourself. And you don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to be good enough. So I want to say that out loud so that you don't get upset if you're able to do it one day and not do it the next day. That's okay. I just need you to do it. Start somewhere. Routine is built. What they say, it takes like 3 weeks to build something into a routine. So I just need you to be intentional enough to build the routine, and then the structure will come. The third pillar is guidance, and that's teaching without shame. When we're talking about good enough parents, those parents correct with care. So when we're talking about reparenting ourselves with guidance, that means mistakes don't equal rejection. That means that our emotions don't equal danger. And that definitely means that growth doesn't require punishment. So instead of things or inner messages like, I'm so stupid, you will say things like, that didn't work. Let me try something different. And that's self-leadership. You are teaching your parts that learning is safe. So when you think of guidance, you're thinking of words that are going to motivate you and make you feel empowered to keep going, and not words that will turn into your inner critic that potentially cause you to shut down anyway. And that fourth pillar is protection. And that's the boundaries. That's where boundaries live within your reparenting. And I know for most of us, this is where many of y'all are going to struggle. Because with reparenting, protection means leaving environments that trigger survival. That means saying no without explaining. That means choosing peace over proving. And that means not dating potential in relationships. So the hard truth with protection is, if you keep exposing your inner child to unsafe people, no amount of affirmations will heal you. Protection is love with teeth. So when we're thinking of protection, I want you to think of protecting yourself from things that have caused you harm, and being intentional and providing actionable steps to no longer provide harm to yourself. So when I'm speaking to clients, I often ask them, so you're willing to be uncomfortable for others' comfort. And with protection, you are providing yourself the same comfort that you're providing other people. And that's the true definition of boundaries, is that you and I feel comfortable, loved, and connected in this space, not one over the other. So that's the fourth pillar, is protection. So before y'all talk about this is going to be hard work, yes, it is. And I want to talk about why parenting feels hard at first. So let me normalize this real quick. Reparenting feels uncomfortable because it threatens your old nervous system. Your protector part will say things like, "Oh, this feels so selfish. This is lazy. Nah, that's too soft." Because your protector part is scared. Because if you stop surviving, they don't know who they are yet. They don't understand what their role is in your life anymore. So I need you to go slow in this, because reparenting isn't about firing your parts. It's about training them for who you are today. Reparenting is hard, and it's some good work. But before we close, I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to put a hand on your chest and say quietly, I'm learning how to lead myself. And just let that land. Let that sink in. And hold on to that. Because this week, I want you to notice a couple things. I want you to notice when your inner child reacts, when your protector part takes over, and when your adult self steps in. And when that happens, I want you to ask, who's driving right now? And is that who I want leading? Because here's the truth, sis. Healing doesn't mean you stop having parts. It means that you stop letting wounded parts make adult decisions. And as always, I want to leave you with some affirmations. And if you're looking for these affirmations, I have made affirmation cards for healing your inner child and healing attachment wounds. But here are your affirmations for the week. I can nurture without rescuing. I can protect without hardening. I can lead my inner world with clarity and compassion. Hold those affirmations, write them down. Next week, we're meeting the inner child directly. Not a cute version. This is the real one. And it might get tender. But until then, be gentle. But be honest. And remember, you don't need a new life. You need new leadership inside the one you have. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Rewired for Love. If this conversation spoke to your heart, share it with someone who's learning to nurture their inner child too. And next week, we'll continue this series with meeting your inner child, the forgotten parts of you. And it's going to be gentle, powerful, and maybe even a little emotional. So come ready to feel. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Rewired for Love. If today's conversation resonated with you, share with someone you care about, or take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback helps this community to grow and keeps these healing conversations flowing. You can also follow me and come hang out with me on all socials, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of them at Rewired for Love Podcast. Go there to get your daily doses of healing, honesty, and a whole lot of love. Until next time, keep listening to your body, lead with compassion, and remember, you are safe enough to love and be loved.